What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Nightly Recap. NBA Outlook. The playoffs started today, so that's why we got all hands on deck. 4 games today. We're gonna share our thoughts on all of those. Then, of course, Cardell with another great idea. We're gonna talk to you guys about who made our personal all bubble teams. All right, we didn't have time for 2 teams, just the 5 players that stood out that really made their mark on us individually during the seeding games. So again, we got Cardell Dudley Jr., Raymond Lyons, I'm Wilson Tarpey Jr., and again, welcome to NBA Outlook, the nightly recap. So we're going to get started with Denver. Denver beat Utah tonight, 135-125, and it took an extra period to decide this one. Jamal Murray had 36 points, 10 of which came in OT. The Joker with 29 points and 10 rebounds. Donovan Mitchell, 57 points, which is now the third most in a playoff game in NBA history. Cardell, I'm going to give you the pleasure of letting everyone know who was number 2, number 1, because some folks, we keep throwing dirt on some people's names. Certain someone's names continues to appear when monstrous efforts like this happen later down the line. So, all right, Cardell, we'll let you go first. Your thoughts on the very first game of the day. Denver taking care of Utah in OT.
Not a lot of defense. I think that's what came down to who got stops late in the game, and Denver picked up some stops and were able to pull away. I think Denver shot 53% from 3, and by them, I know everybody's blaming Donovan Mitchell because of the 8-second violation, but that didn't cost them the game in my eyes. That was just a crucial mistake at a crucial time, but they were still up with 136 left in the game. You got to get over and stay focused, mentally tough, and do what you got to do to get the win. Even with that said, you still had overtime to regroup. Even if you were deflated, Jamal Murray came and hit the 3. They forced overtime. You still had 5 minutes to do what you needed to do, and Utah didn't respond. I think Denver shot 4 for 6 from the field in the period, which means there was just no resistance, and they just pulled away from that. So to me, it was just the defensive effort between both teams, and Denver just figured out a way to get more stops. The tough thing is Donovan Mitchell going to need to be. I tweeted it out that he gonna need to be D Wade 06 for them to really have a chance to win the series, because I don't think Denver really played their best. They hit a lot of threes, but they didn't play their best, and they're deeper. Utah don't have a lot of one-on-one players. We just they need Mike Conley. Bo Buckets, he's not there. He's hurt. So that's a big miss. I mean, outside of Donovan Mitchell and Ingles, who else can really create their own shot? And Clarkson, coming off the bench, who else can really create their own shot? So, right now it's just tough, man. But with that said, they still had the chance to win. So, I think defense will be key. Who really brings it on that end, and who can get stops moving forward. So that was my take from it.
Right.
Yeah, man. Defense is always paramount, especially in the game where you got Donovan Mitchell going crazy and Jamal Murray on the other end. Like Cardell said, Denver just got the stops when they needed them. They also was able to get easier baskets. They got out in the open court a little more. They had 14 fast break points to Utah's 3. I mean, that of course always helps. We just able to steal a couple good ones here and there. But yeah, man, the overtime period, Denver just came out and punched them immediately. They started out with an 8-0 run, and Utah wasn't able to regroup. 5 minutes is not long, so if you jump out like that, then you put yourself in a pretty good spot to win. But Jamal Murray, man, he came on late. He had 20 points between fourth quarter and overtime. Of course, Donovan Mitchell had the great game. They have a costly mistake at the end there, but yeah, it's very rare that you can pinpoint a game down to one play, and that's definitely not the case here. It's time left on the clock, and they had overtime. So, it was a crucial mistake. Donovan Mitchell owned it post game, but you can't put it all on that. Denver just they just executed a little better at times. They stepped up on defense when they needed to. Jokic, man, his versatility he just makes everyone else on that team that much more dangerous because they're always a threat. He's going to be able to get people the ball in the spots that they need it. And that's a big advantage that they have. Utah is going to struggle without Mike Conley. I don't know if Donovan Mitchell got another 57 in him, but they're gonna need it. I mean that that caliber of performance, but he's going to need to be better than normal for them to compete in this series. But yeah, pretty good game. Defense was kind of absent to begin with, but it got a little tighter down the stretch. But yeah, just looking forward to the rest of this series.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add on this one. Like you guys said, it's going to take Herculean type efforts for Donovan to keep his team in the game. Other folks got to go along with him. One of the things we know in the playoffs is scouting's a little bit more intense than regular season. Donovan went for 57. Pretty sure some coverages, some things may change a little bit. That man went for 57. They're probably going to want somebody else to try to do something they probably can't do, especially with Mike being out. As for Denver, I like the growth down the stretch. They had some playoff experience. Things didn't go too well, but youth. We saw down the end of this game, even though it went to OT, I like the two-man game between Murray and Jokic. I thought it was big of them as they go forward. Just for a young team, you were in the playoffs last year. Things didn't go in your way, but you ended up in a 7-game series, and this was growth because this game could have went either way. If Donovan got this done, that would have been huge. But you did what you were supposed to do. You had more hands on deck than Utah did, clearly. So credit to them for taking game one. And especially considering how this bubble thing goes. I know people talk about, hey, despite that, home teams are still having a good record, man. That crap means nothing to me. This bubble stuff is so different. Even with the pumped up crowd noise, it's not remotely the same thing. And you're seeing teams kind of deal with it. So to be able to close out games, it's important, especially game one of a series. We're going to move on to Toronto and Brooklyn. Cardell, last time we were here, you talked about Brooklyn. They were in that game against Portland. And, Brooklyn's just a tough out. And they showed it today. Their mental toughness, their resiliency. Toronto went up by as many as 33 in this game. And the Nets clawed their way back in to be within 8. Then Toronto, little bit, they have some more vets coming. There's a reason they're the defending champs, or the reigning champs rather, and they were able to kind of secure things, steady the boat, and get the win. Van Vliet went off for 30 points, 11 assists, 8 of 10 from deep. Timothy Luwawu, I always mess up his name. Cabarro with 26 points, Joe Harris at 19. But just your thoughts on this one, Ray. We'll start with you.
Man, that championship medal is so important and is so overlooked. Like, I get it, Kawhi's not there anymore, but they got 10 guys coming back that was on that championship roster. That means something. And it showed today. They went up early by a lot, like you said, at 73 first half points. But then, Brooklyn came storming back. Basketball is a game of runs. Everybody knows that. Brooklyn, they tried to get back in it. Got it to within 8, but Toronto's remained poised and they stretched it back out on them. That's just experience. That's just, we've been here before and you haven't. Plain and simple. Toronto was super efficient, solid on defense as always. Van Vliet was awesome, 30 points, 11 assists. They had 7 players in double figures, shot 50% from 3. I mean, it was just a clinic for the most part, and Brooklyn just couldn't get over the hump. The playoff intensity is different, and Toronto's been there before, and they showed why they put that trophy up last year. You can't discount a team that's been to the mountaintop before, and they look like they're hungry to get there again. So yeah, they just took game one in convincing fashion.
I mean, it's like Raymond said, it was a clinic, championship clinic on how to play championship level basketball. I mean, I know Kawhi led the way, but it was more than Kawhi that won that championship last year. You know what I'm saying? They was efficient on both ends of the floor, man. You know what I mean? Just offensively, not even 50% from 3 and 47% from the field. They shot 97% from the line. Like, they literally gave the Nets no life. You know what I'm saying? They came back kind of when the second string was in. They was looking like they was gonna rest the starters, and then the starters came back in and just finished them off. You know what I mean? It's like that, man. People who haven't been paying attention to the Raptors, they're not playing around. You could tell they got a chip on their shoulder. They respect what Kawhi brought or whatnot, but you could tell they trying to win it without him. You know what I'm saying? Just to show like it's a team thing, which we all know it is. I mean, except for the goofy fans out here, and reporters who go off narratives. You know how they go. So it was just efficient, the most efficient game we had today, as far as all around, from the coaching, the strategy, the execution, defense, offense, rebound, and help side. And the thing I like about the Raptors, they lead with their defense. They let that spark their offense, where pretty much every majority of the NBA, their offense sparks everything. Nah, they bring the defense first, and then the offense falls in line. They try to just suffocate you to where you can't breathe, and then they begin to just go to work on you offensively, and that's why they're going to be a tough out.
Yeah, man, it's the team that's been here before. Like you guys said, they want to prove they can get it done with this group. And some OG was missing from last year's run. He wasn't healthy. He's available this year. I know that's something that gets overlooked by some folks because again, this is one of the teams without a quote unquote premier star or whatnot. But get a lot of backcourts are getting love. That duo of Van Vliet and Kyle Lowry, there's something else to deal with. Two dudes who get after you on a defensive end and then can give it to you offensively as well.
Tough as nails.
Man, neither
tough.
Unflappable, both of them. Just unflappable, right? So that's one of those things where they got two very good playmakers. Both of them very gritty defenders. They're unbothered by the moment. And I want to paraphrase a quote that Kyle Lowry shared. Talk about Siakam. Someone was asking, who's gonna kind of step up in that role with Kawhi going, and he was like, "Man, it's gonna be him whether he's ready or not." But again, I like that though, right? Because literally, this is what you want the man to become, right? So speak on it, and it's good to know that your peers, your teammates, the folks you're going to battle with, they're holding you to that standard. And obviously, that doesn't mean you have to do everything yourself because they're going to be riding with you, but again, that has to be a confidence boost. But like Cardell said, man, just a clinic. It's a clinic. It was a freaking clinic by Toronto, so credit to them. We're going to move on. The Celtics take game one from the Sixers, 109-101. This one was a fun game. We know the Sixers are missing some folks, but Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Oh, Lord. 32 points to 13 for Jason. Jaylen Brown with 29, 15 of the 29 in the fourth. I want to make sure if you mention Jason, do not leave out Jaylen. All right, so that 32 and 13 is amazing. It's a career high. Credit to Mr. Tatum at the same time. Mr. Brown had 15 in the fourth. Going to throw on Kemba too. Kemba had 19 in the fourth. Joel Embiid had a monster game. No surprise there. But kind of like Donovan Mitchell, some other folks going to have to step up, do a little bit more because they're missing a big piece in Ben. But Cardell, your thoughts on the Celtics taking game one from the Sixers?
They miss Ben Simmons. They miss someone that can set the floor. I don't really understand how people just come to conclusions about certain players that they could be better off without that. I really don't know the hell they're watching. Ben is a great passer, man, and he's a big point guard. That's a problem. That's a matchup problem for any team. You don't have those running around. Ain't too many of those. So just him being on the floor, you got to put a bigger wing on him, which throws your defensive stuff sets off right then and there just by him just being on the floor. That's gone now. So now you can play a more traditional lineup. And now you don't have, let's say, Jaylen Brown or Tatum to have to worry about him. They could play their natural spots or whatnot, and you could leave Marcus Smart and Kemba out there to do what they do, to take away Shake Milton and Richardson. And then that just leaves Al Horford can't guard Jason Tatum. You know what I'm saying? Richardson got his hands full with Jaylen Brown. So now they just going to work. And what do you want to do? Embiid, I said without Ben Simmons, Embiid is going to have to put up, Shaq-like numbers. It's going to have to be like 40 and 15 type things. The 26 and 15 is cool, but that's not going to beat the Celtics. You're going to have to elevate your game to really pull off this upset. And they're going to need more from Tobias Harris. Shoot 40% from the field. You got to make like Jason Tatum and them have to pay attention to you. He put up solid numbers today. but that's not going to be enough, man. Embiid going to have to dominate, and they're going to need someone to really elevate their games to another level, like somebody we not expecting. You know what I mean? And that's the only way they can compete. Because with that being said, as great as Jaylen Brown and Tatum played, a lot of the Celtics ain't play as good as them. You know what I mean? And, you know, they might be hurt now because Gordon Hayward rolled his ankle. So we got to see what happens with that. That might be a blow. But a lot of those, they just rolled Brown and Tatum. So they didn't even really go off like that. Yeah, but it was a close game. So what if the Sixers get the help they need to help with Embiid, or Embiid really goes off? And what I mean by Embiid going off, get down on the block and dominate. You know what I'm saying? Like, they have no one on the Celtics that can deal with you. Go down there and dominate, and you lead them to victory. You know what I'm saying? Do what you did that one game against the Bucks early in the season after Shaq and Barkley called you out. That's how you got to play every game. It's the playoffs. You know what I mean? So that's the only chance they really have, especially when I haven't been, man, because that's an all-star that's out. And I don't see how people think you take an all-star off the roster that's easily replaceable. You know what I'm saying? It just don't work like that.
Right.
Yeah, man. Like it's gonna have to be an Embiid show. You know, I think we were talking about it on Tuesday when we were talking about, you know, the scoring thing. Like I can appreciate that Embiid has the skills to kind of get out on the perimeter and all that. But like Cardell said, he got to take advantage of his biggest advantage, and that's being down there on the block and taking advantage of his size. Like I saw it a couple times. You know, it'll be a time when a smaller defender be on him and he get down there and punish him. That has to be mission number one. And, you know, only do the other stuff, you know, when you got to. But yeah, just especially in a time where, you know, you down Ben Simmons, you can't push the pace like you want. You know, offensive sets are going to be hard to really come back because Ben Simmons ain't there to orchestrate things. Dump it down to Embiid and let him do what he do. You know, he can be aggressive and make the right plays out of double teams and attack it. You know, just that's got to be their MO. You know, all this stuff he doing, you know, shooting the fadeaways from the free throw line and all that. You gotta say that for another time, man. This ain't the series for it. You short-handed and you're the lower seed. Just give him the old number one. It's like if you a pitcher that got 100-mile-an-hour fastball, just gun that joint out to your shoulder, give away. You know, don't mix it up and play into their hands. You know, because if he's down there on the block just wrecking shop, it is going to throw Boston off, and they're going to have to adjust. And then when they adjust, that's when you take advantage of it. You know, but you know, he alluded to it in the post game. Said, you know, I've got to be better. You know, and also his teammates got to come with him. But you know, it's got to start with him. He's the best player. Simmons is gone. It's really on him now. So you know, I'm just going to see what he's going to do moving forward. But on Boston side, they was real scrappy. You know, they got a size disadvantage. Horford and Embiid, those are big bodies, and Boston really don't have the size to counter that. But they were fighting a lot on the offensive glass and got some second chances. Philly can't allow that to happen. Their margin for error is small with Simmons out, so they got to take advantage of everything they can in order to, you know, make it a series.
And real quick, for Embiid, he had one block today. One block. And you know Boston's going to take it to the basket. You got to dominate, man. I'm not just talking about offensively. Dominate the boards. He did a pretty good job. I think he had about 15 rebounds or whatnot. 16 rebounds. You got to protect the rim. You got to block one block. Jason Tatum had 3. He's a wing. So you shouldn't be embarrassed by that, dog. Like, you should be a force on both ends. And that's what I mean. That's the thing about Embiid. We know his potential, but we don't know which Embiid going to show up night to night, man. You can't rely on that, dog. And it's just like, at this point, you just can't give him the benefit of the doubt no more. It's been too long, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, it is what it is, dog. So until you show it, we just going to take it as, all right, he's going to put up some decent numbers, but it's not going to be the impact needed to, especially playoff time, to elevate the Sixers to that next level. And that's just the way it is.
Yeah, all I wanted to add like you said, a lot of folks overlook what Ben brings to the table. All they talk about is because someone can't shoot, because apparently that's the only thing that matters in life, not every other way you can impact a basketball game. And that's what they missed today against a team with Jaylen Brown, with Jason Tatum, Kemba Walker, things like that, folks that can break down the defense. Ben Simmons and guard 1 through 5, that is something that you miss when you're switching, something that you miss dearly today. That's someone, when you switch out, you don't have to worry about it. He can get the ball off the glass, and your point guard already has the ball, essentially. They missed a whole lot of things. So, again, folks got to get over this just hunting box scores and looking at point per game averages and thinking that's the end all, be all of everything in life. They're missing a lot, and Ben not being there, like you guys said. Joel, you're in a similar boat as Donovan Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do what you got to do to get it done, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is. All right, moving on to the last game of the night. The Clippers beat the Mavs 118-110 to take a 1-0 lead in this series. PG had 27. Luka went off for 42 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists. He did have 11 turnovers, but Kristaps Porzingis was ejected. And the reason we're mentioning this kind of affected things a little bit for Dallas, clearly. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. Not going to pretend here. That's not what we do. The game definitely changed, especially for Dallas dealing with a team like the Clippers. But, the Clippers got off to an 18-2 start. It looked like they were firing off on, running on all cylinders. And they got to give the Mavs credit. They stormed back, and when they stormed back, it was one-sided for a while. Like, they came – I don't know what happened when they went down 18-2, but when they decided to punch back, they landed like 3 haymakers. And it lasted literally almost until halftime. But then obviously we mentioned the Porzingis ejection. I want to hear what you guys think. So Ray, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, like you brought up, it was an ugly start for Dallas. They would turn the ball over like crazy. And to add insult to injury, the Clippers couldn't miss during that stretch. Then Luka slipped, looked like he's about to be hurt. So this looked like it was about to get out of hand early. But man, so Dallas responded to 18-2 with 48-18. So when they came, man, it was wasn't nothing the Clippers could do about it. But the tide seemed to turn. Patrick Beverley went to the bench, and it just looked like the Clippers' energy just got zapped. And I think they said this was the 12th time they had their full roster for the whole season. So, when guys are just, I don't know if they're out of sync or just not used to each other yet or what, but they need a dude that brings energy like Pat Bev and a Montrezl Harrell. Like, they need that in this setting, because it's just weird, and I'm pretty sure people are not even used to it yet, even after 8 seeding games. Like, I couldn't imagine playing in a situation like this. So, if it, like the first play of the game, Patrick Beverley got a steal, so he's like their heartbeat kind of. So, when he went to the bench, things kind of turned, and they couldn't get their footing for a long time. But yeah, that Porzingis ejection was, man, that was terrible. The first tech was terrible, to be perfectly honest. I think that was a clean block. I think everybody else would agree. Then he got teed up for arguing a call that was obviously missed, and then got teed up for the skirmish when he got pushed. And Marcus, like, if anything out of that situation, I'm thinking it's going to be a tech on Morris. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was just crazy to me. But in regards to the game, kudos to Dallas, man. They fought back. Tim Hardaway Jr. stepped up, started making shots. Luka, he showed why he's talked about the way he's talked about. Shook off the rusty start. He did have 11 turnovers, but a lot of that was in the first quarter. He had, what he finished with, 42, and almost had a triple double. Kept him in it with Porzingis out. Like, dude's gonna be a problem, and I don't think this series is gonna be as easy as people may have initially thought. Who knows what happens if Porzingis stays in the game? He presents a whole nother set of issues that the Clippers will have to deal with. But yeah, Clippers has found a way to finish him off this game. they were uncharacteristically sloppy on defense for stretches. You don't typically see that from them, but they shook the cobwebs off and was able to get the 8-point win.
Cardell?
The Clippers did what they should have did, and they pulled it out with Porzingis out. I call Luka Larry Legend Jr. That's and Wilson know that when we first saw him his rookie year with the Wizards. That boy, he looked like Larry Bird. He the way he controlled the game, his all around skill. It's hard, man. It's hard to deal with that. Like, you can't speed him up. He's poised. He has every skill in the book, man. To be that damn young, 20, 21 years old, is sick. It's sick as hell, man. But his turnovers hurt, definitely. 11 turnovers, that's as much as the Clippers had as a team. So it hurt, and I know they scored off a lot of them. But this is what kind of bothers me about the Clippers. I understand, like what Raymond said, this is their 12th time having their entire team available. But when they get up, it's like they get cocky, they get arrogant, and they don't bring the same energy as they should when they were beating the hell out the team, and then that team comes back. You can't play with teams like that, especially like a team like this. Like, Luke ain't going away. You gotta understand, he was leading teams at EuroLeague championships as a teenager, dog. Like, and it's way more physical and rowdy over there. So this is light work for him, man. Like he said when he first played in the league, he was like, it's easier to score in here in the league. It's not as physical as they can't touch you. So you can't play with a dangerous dude like that. And like you said with Porzingis, he had 14 when he was ejected. He was in rhythm, man. And you also got to understand that's 7'3" mobile waiting down you on the defensive end. That's a big reason why he went on that run. You know what I mean? So you got to regroup, and it just Dallas was nervous at the beginning, but once the nerves started and they got in the flow, they got in the rhythm, they went on that run. So it would have been a bad one, and I'm not quite sure if the Clippers would have won. That's why Doc was pissed. He was even yelling at Montrez, dog, run the floor, sprint that jump. It opens up the floor. It forces the defense to suck in. Then we can find our shooters. You know what I mean? Little stuff. Like you see what I'm saying? The attention to detail for the Clippers is not always there. And in the playoffs, you're going to get beat. Now, it is game one. You don't want to overreact, man. But to me, Paul George and Kawhi did what they should do. I'm not going to give you credit. When you're a superstar, I expect you to do superstar things. You do what you can do. But defensively, I mean, Reggie and Lou, and even Pat Bev. Pat Bev made plays, but he gets so rowdy, he gets undisciplined at times. He got to chill with that, man, because they're gonna target him, man. So I'm talking to refs, and then when you need a call, they're not gonna give it to you, and then they're gonna start calling petty calls. You just saw what happened with Porzingis, so they on one already. They looking for him. So it don't take much, man. And if I'm Dallas, all right, if you do that to Porzingis one of ours, we can get somebody important like Pat Bev out the game. Let's mix it up. Send somebody in there. Like, I will be planning that just so we can get him off the floor. But when he's locked in and he ain't doing the extra stuff, he's just playing hard defense or whatnot, playing within himself, he makes winning plays, man. And that's the stuff that helps the Clippers win games. But they got some stuff to clean up because I know Doc isn't happy about this performance, man. They won. Even when Porzingis out, it was still a game. You know what I mean? They couldn't quite just dominate them. So I know a lot of people feel like the Mavs in trouble, like the Clippers might just get them up out of there easily. I'm like, man, y'all not paying attention. They're well coached and they got a lot of veterans, and then they got Luka. So as long as they got Luka, they got a chance. And with Porzingis, he's gonna be pissed, like he's gonna be ready to redeem himself. So it's gonna be a nice game, game 2, man. But it's not gonna be as smooth as people think.
Yeah, and this is why it's so important that the Clippers clean up what they're doing defensively, because if you look at Dallas roster, they the only dude on that team that kind of can't shoot is Kid Gilchrist, and he was hitting his shots tonight. That might be the only dude in the roster. Kleber can shoot. Like, just being honest, like all their actions, all their movement they were running, even when the little dude just setting screens and then popping, forcing the switches, the Clippers had to close out. And that's why all that miscommunication was so horrible. You're giving guards wide open shots. It was KP out there with guards, straight guards. And then, KP can pop out there and shoot. And like you guys were talking about the stress they were putting on the Clippers defense. And Luka, because of his size, we were talking before we hit our record or whatnot, He's a perfect playmaker, and he has the right things around him. So it's not going to be a sweet series, and it's almost a blessing in disguise for the Clippers if they handle their business. It'll force them to get right from here on out because the math aren't going away. It's not going to be fun. And then defensively, you can't have miscommunications. You need to be on a string. Tim Hardaway's one of them type of dudes. He gets going. Seth Curry, he gets going. Like quiet is kept again. Another team where Luka and Staffs are the big names, obviously. But those other guys, they've been in the league for a minute, and they understand their roles on this team. You know, there's a whole bunch of guys that are former first-round picks or whatnot, right? The Mavs are a good team, so this is going to be a good series. If you guys have nothing else to add, we're going to go ahead and share. Go ahead.
One more thing real quick. You also got to look at the fact that people are only looking at one side of the fans not being there. You know what I mean? But the fans also give you energy when you're at home. You don't have that. So when you flat and you getting down, teams going on a run, you got to pick yourself up. You know what I mean? And the younger you are, if you never quite been in that experience, had that experience and stuff, you don't know how to do that. So you relying on you're going to have to rely on the best and watch them, or they're going to have to talk you up and stuff like that. This bubble thing, you're going to have to be more mentally tough than probably ever. Because it's not to pick you up. You have to really, y'all as a team got to pick one another up. And I think that's going to be key, man, because like you saw earlier with Utah, when Murray hit, Donovan Mitchell had the 8-second, Murray hit that 3, they admitted it took us a lot of steam out of them. But had they been at home or something like that, they might have bounced back. The team might have, the fans would have cheered them on, got them ready, man. So you got to pay attention to that.
I think that's a great point, and definitely something to look at tomorrow for the rest of the first round games. But Cardell, I'm going to let you lead off. We wanted to share our all bubble teams, just 5 players who stood out to us most individually, like we shared at the beginning. So that's what we want to do before we leave you guys this evening. Cardell, we'll start with you.
I mean, obviously, we're going to start with MVP Damian Lillard. The run they went on to get in the playoffs. I mean, it's self-explanatory. Devin Booker, second, he was right there with him, you know what I'm saying, and really pushed the Blazers where they had to win out. Otherwise, Phoenix would be in the playoffs right now. And TJ Warren, I mean, we saw him, man. He was just murdering everybody, man. It was just, I mean, I'm like, damn, dog, what the hell? He just getting buckets every which way possible on any and everybody. Jaylen Brown, quiet as kept, man. They don't give him enough credit, man. He's had an outstanding season. That's why I had him on my All-NBA team, man. He's been consistent, dog, and, guarding the best twos in the league and being efficient, scoring the ball, doing a little bit of everything, rebounding, passing, man. He's found his groove in the league. And last but not least, Donovan Mitchell, man, just keeping them afloat, keeping them in the playoff position and whatnot. You saw what he did today. It's kind of been building up throughout the bubble, man. So those are my 5 right there.
All right, Ray.
All right. Sure, of course, I think this is going to be a constant here. Dame Lillard, just the fact that that tear he went on and willed this team into the playoffs, like just pretty much echoing everything Cardell said. Also, second person, Devin Booker, same thing. Nobody expected much out of Phoenix coming into this, but they showed that they not here for play. And just in reference to Phoenix, like people not taking into account, everything that they went through during the first portion of the season. Like DeAndre Ayton was suspended. They had some other injuries, and on top of that, they're a young team. So they just had to get their footing, man. Like, and this layoff and gave them time to kind of regroup and focus, and they were able to come in and handle business. Like they went 8-0. Like and it's not like people were just laying down. Like these games meant something. So I think going into next season, it's going to be a whole new respect for them, as it should be. Another guy that stood out for me, Michael Porter Jr. Just really glad he's finally getting a chance to show what he can do. Like we live in this microwave society where if one thing happens, people just write you off forever. I mean, he had injury problems, and he's healthy now, and he's getting a chance to kind of spread his wings and and show his skills. Dan Luka, man, we probably gonna be talking about him a lot, especially through this playoff series. Just impacting the game in every which way. A little more to be desired on the defensive end, but I'm sure he's going to figure that out. And last guy, Karis LeVert, man, he was cooking down here. Like, we talked about the Nets a lot. People focus so much on what they don't have, they overlooking the guys that they brought to the court, and nobody was happy to play them down here. Like, it was maybe a couple games that got out of hand, but for the most part, man, they've been hell to deal with. So yeah, those my standout guys.
All right, my 5, and again, like you guys said, a couple of these guys, they're they made everyone's list. All right. So Dame, Book, gonna get that out the way. Like Ray, also had Luka in there, and obviously, like you said, we'll be talking about them a lot, but boy, it's so tough. Cardell, like you said from last year, boy is so freaking tough, and it's not his prime yet. It's just fun right now to see. This is still going up, right? Like, it's just wild. I had to give TJ Warren the nod because he went nuts. This whole bubble thing, it felt like almost every game people were waiting for, like, the end, and it kind of really didn't outside the one out there game against Miami. I think that was the only bad one he really had. And then last for me, I had Nurk just for him being out as long as he was out and to come back, and he had to come back and kind of step into a role where they needed him to produce. And I feel like he exceeded expectations upon him coming back. I'm sure there was other centers, like I was thinking about Jarrett Allen as well, but just for Nurk, for me, because of they were, out of everyone, felt like they were in the most of win now, go home type mode, and they had to get that stuff done. And you take away his presence, they're not in the playoffs.
No,
they just not there, to be completely honest. And then the other thing, one big thing is obviously a big averaging a double-double. It's not, the most exciting thing in the world. One thing that is shooting 85% from the free throw line. A lot of bigs cannot do that. That is huge. It means you're allowed to be on the floor in games. We've seen him late in games. Once he gets fouled, he hits a shot. So that's my all bubble teams. I want to thank you guys for tuning in tonight. We're going to continue with these recaps. As always, Tuesday night, we'll see you guys at 8 p.m. Got another fun show, The Focus. And check us out on Patreon. We will catch you guys very, very soon. I hope you guys enjoy the playoffs, man. I'm already ready for day 2.